we use VFDs in all of our units. What VFD stands for variable frequency drive, so it adjusts the RPMs of the motor. Of course, it takes all of those components that Bo just talked about. And we also have run into the same thing with hardware and software issues. Some things that I have done in the last year, we were doing small purchases from our VFD supplier, and I really worked with them and was like, your lead times stink. I mean, they really stink. I was like, help me. What can I do? Really communicate with them. What can I do to be first in line? And their comment was, we would love a blanket. Can you give us a blanket? Absolutely, I can give you a blanket PO. So we, took a big risk last fall. We put in a year-long PO, a blanket PO with releases every month. And even though in this middle part of this year, we had an excess in inventory, I at least had them on my shelf. And so that really helped. So I really encourage you, if you can take the risk, if you can forecast out a year, which I know is really hard in this time to do forecasting, but if you can do it, work with their supplier and be like, if I give you, a blanket, can it help you guys forecast? Because if it helps them, then it's going to help you as well. We put in component buys last September for a I'll call it a non-stock item for us, in that our client requested that we use a different processor than we normally do. I put that PO in last September. I finally got the last piece in June. That is how long it took. And they kept moving it. I called in favors. I was searching in Canada for these parts, trying to figure it out. And, I called the manufacturer direct. Finally, I went up the chain of command. Like, did we do something wrong? Did we make you mad? Like, why are we the low man on the totem pole? And they just were really honest. Like, we don't have the components. We don't have the raw materials. We don't have the panel board. We've all heard it. We all hear it on a daily basis now. And so we worked with actually a competitor and got the parts that we needed by making some phone calls. And it's not something that we would normally have done, but it helped both the client and us. And so sometimes you have to do things that are out of your comfort zone to make it all work.
Jenny, how are you managing the risk of excess inventory with your blanket purchase orders?
So I had let it be known from my supplier that if they get in a bind and if I have excess, I would return it per se. So if I have an excess and they get in a bind with another client, that I'm willing to share, basically. They haven't come to me with that option, but I let it be known that I would share, because with electronics nowadays, as a possession is 9/10 of the law, at least if I have it. And it was something that we discussed last fall with our VP, in that, what are we willing to risk on the shelf? What can I give me a price? Like, how much can I have on my shelf? Because, when our clients are screaming because we have a 12-week lead time, what can I do? I have to have some wiggle room. Now, 2 years ago, we wouldn't have been carrying inventory like this, not at all. But now they're allowing us to carry that inventory because they know that if we don't have it, then we can't deliver our product. And so they are being more lenient, I will call it, to let us carry that excess inventory, knowing that we will use it. I truly believe that we will use it. And we have, because even though they were doing fairly well hitting their blanket delivery orders, but they missed one by 4 weeks. And so, we were able to get a little caught up. So I would say, the more communication you can do to your CFO and your VPs and let them know, hey, I have to have this. If you want product to go out the door, I have to have some more room for this just in time inventory that we're trying to do is no longer.
Bo, you've got a question for Jenny.
Yeah, Jenny. So that's a really innovative solution, because my instinct is always, I don't like blanket POs because you lose control, right, from a procurement perspective. And so I'm interested to dig into that a little bit more if we can. So I'm wondering how you kind of structured the control form around that. Did you set it up where it was based on material takeoffs from the PO as far as what your ultimate liability was? And it sounds like you may have also set up a return policy with your supplier, that if you ended up with excess inventory at the end of the year, maybe you could look at an inventory buyback. I'm wondering if those are correct, and if not, kind of what controls you put in place.
Yeah, so the first control we put in place was normally they only did a blanket. They would do a blanket for only 6 months. And we discussed with them. So when we put the first blanket into production last fall, we were on a seasonal cycle. So we sell evaporative equipment, mostly the evaporative in evaporation. The summer months, spring through the fall. Winter falls off. So we were looking at a seasonal thing, and we said, we want to give you this blanket, but we are seasonal. Can we work with this? So they worked with us to do for a year. Then we ended up getting into the market in Australia, which has the opposite season as North America. So now we no longer have that issue. And so when we finished our blanket order of a year in 6 months, because I kept calling saying, hey, can we have more? Can we have more? So when I put in the second blanket, we did keep it at a year, but we were able to look back and say, okay, we are using X amount per month. And I added a safety stock to that. And then we use one of their most, I will call it, readily available products. And so what I basically said was, will you extend your manufacturer's warranty? Because if I'm not going to literally energize this product for 6 to 8 months, you may have manufactured it a year ago. Can you help me with that warranty? And they were able to do that. They helped us with that if we have warranty issues outside their normal warranty period, so that I could hold that stock. And then we have a manufacturer's rep that we work with. And so he's also selling to other companies here in the US. And so he knows that if he gets in a client that maybe can't do a blanket order, that I'm willing to share my excess inventory with them.
No, I love it. Thank you. That really helps kind of understand the controls and the methodology that you put in place. I would say, maybe as one final build on that, one thing that I've seen when we stock inventory for a long time, it's very important not only to make sure where we know it, that we know where it is as far as the warehouse is concerned, but we're also storing it correctly. Right. If we're gonna extend that warranty, we want to make sure that we're not storing something incorrectly or allowing it to be exposed to weather that's going to damage it, that's going to void that warranty that we've negotiated. Because I've seen that run up in the past as well.
Right. And you also have to really be careful doing your first in, first outs.
Yes.
So, whoever's stocking it, making sure that they're trained properly to know that,
Right.
You just got this electrical component that was manufactured this month. It needs to go to literally the back of the line, because you should be pulling what was the oldest thing on your shelf. So it's been a lot of training for people who have never known what first in, first out is, who don't have a clue. And we try and use the grocery store as an example, like, the milk flows in one direction for a reason when you pull it out at the grocery store, So, trying to teach your inventory and your shop people, that first in, first out. And then if you're pulling something, or if my system pulled a lot number that doesn't look right, there might be a reason we need to dig into that and figure out why it pulled that lot number when it maybe should have pulled a different one.
No, absolutely. Love it. Thank you.